What's up, everybody? Soul here with another sort of Convallaria video, and today we're going to take a look at our girl SP Samantha, kind of gauge her, rate her, and that way I can give you some kind of an outlier as to how good she's going to be. Without any further ado, let's get right into her. First and foremost, let's take a look at her trait. Right here we've got it. It's simply called Justice. I'm sure this is a mistranslation, so bear with me on all translations. Just as a heads up, we are using a website for this, of course, Billy Games, link down in the description. But as it reads, apply before attack, Judgment Brand. And so Judgment Brand is a debuff where the damage taken is increased by 10%, and then area damage taken is increased by 5%, and it is looking pretty good, honestly. And that debuff lasts for 2 rounds. After the action is over, it triggers Judgment Execution. The effect is it causes 30% magic ranged damage to the enemy. So that's really nice. A free auto passive damage off of Samantha's trait. And then it says it dispels 1 buff. And then Own Glory Watch. Damage multipliers increased by 100%. So, interesting stuff right there. Glory Watch. And then in the action, you dispel 1 debuff. And then you gain Glorious Illumination. And then for allies with Rampaging Fire or French Empire. So those are the categories. Like I said, poor translations. Before they attack with professional skills, their class skills, if you will, it will apply that brand. Wow. So, in essence, SP Samantha gets an aura out of her trait, where she's giving her immediate allies around her a buff that allows them to inflict this Judgment Brand, and she's going to deal damage for that reason. Looks really good. Seems pretty nice. So, at rank 2, the maximum health and magic attacks increased by 8%, so that's a big change there. And then past that, I'm not seeing anything different. At rank 3, or 3 stars I should say, you now are have a critical hit rate of 15% when attacking targets with that Judgment mark. So that's a really nice change right there. Nice little bit of a crit increase. And then it says gain Glory Watch, lasting until the next action begins. After the action begins, you trigger Judgment Execution. So, right there, you're doing that 30% damage. Glory Watch, once again, is that aura skill. Now it's definitely out there. It's looking good. At 4 stars, your maximum health and magic is increased by 16%. So that's now doubled at 4 stars. Seems like a pretty decent breakpoint. And then as I read it, the rest of it remains the same. The translations being bared in mind. And then at 5 stars, your maximum health and magic is the same at 16%. Your attacking still gets that Judgment Brand for only 2 rounds, but when you're attacking characters with Judgment Brand, your critical hit rate is now increased by 50%. So that's a massive jump. We went from 15 to 50. Whoa. And then you gain that Glory Watch, lasting until the next action. And then Glorious Watch is the aura effect, or it now expands to the entire field. So now it is an aura that spreads to the whole field no matter where they are. They don't have to be within a certain amount of range. And then you recover 1 energy at the start of your action. After your action ends, it triggers that Judgment Execution, which is still that 30% damage. And then the magic range damage to enemies, Judgment Brand on the field. It, of course, dispels that 1 buff still. Gets that Glory Watch and then that multiplier. So Samantha's trait is pretty great. Lots of free damage, lots of debuffs. It's an aura. What more can you say? It's looking really good. And on top of all of that, who doesn't love free damage? But it's covering the whole field. It's a vulnerable 1 basically, with an AoE vulnerable tied into it, like a half point AoE vulnerable. Really good stuff there out of Samantha. So let's take a look at her skills and abilities. So as we see right here, we got the Light of Judgment of all sins. It causes 70% range damage to all enemies in a 3x6 area. It's a 2 energy cost, and of course it has a 100% multiplier to enemies in the middle of the 1x6 area. Really interesting way it works right there. But this is a pretty massive, big hitting AoE, dealing bonus damage to characters in the middle. Next to that, we have Eternal Faith. This is her SP skill, so this requires you to have the OG Samantha at 3 stars. Just a heads up. It's a reaction at 3 energy. Being defeated triggers Unyielding or Resolve, consuming 3 energy and restoring 100% health. This can be triggered up to 2 times per battle. This is massive. Everybody loves having a good resolve, and so you definitely have it. You have it where it can be used twice in battle, and you just simply need to have that OG Samantha and SP Samantha up to 3 stars to utilize this awesome reaction. At rank 1, we have Crystal Affinity. We've seen this on other characters. You end your turn, you have less than 1 energy, you're in 2 energy, otherwise you're going to always get the 1 energy. Really decent stuff. And then on the left, you have Healing Chain. At the end of the action, it heals the friendly unit with the lowest health or the percentage within 3 squares of the range, with the healing amount being 50% of her magic attack value. So a free heal passively being done into each turn, and whoever's the lowest, that's decent. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we all know and realize that SP Samantha is a damage dealer. It's good that she's got some versatility in her kit, but man, she smacks. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Shining Fire Purification. This is a 3 energy cost. Damage to all enemies within 1 square of the target range. Appliers Eastbound Vision 1. So that's a hilarious translation. But it basically reduces their range of their ranged attack by 1. And then their move down by 1. That's awesome. And then it causes the terrain to turn to fire tiles. Burning tiles. Really, really good stuff right there. Over here on the other side is a Prayer of Pious Heart. 1 energy cost, 3 turn cooldown. This is a healing instant. Heals all allies within 3 squares of itself. And healing amount is equal to 30% of her magic attack value. And then, of course, grants them 1 layer of that Radiant Illumination, which is that aura. It is stackable, by the way. You can become immune to no healing received or a healing ban. And then immobilization protection, so you can no longer be bound. You become immune to a bound. So it's really good stuff right there, which lasts for 2 rounds. And then also grants Radiant Watch, which lasts for the next 2 actions. So, wow, a lot going on in her kit. She's definitely got a lot packed in there. We got, for her reactions at rank 5, Energy Recovery on the right. We've seen that, where you 8% damage reduction and you gain energy back. Nothing wrong with that. And then over on the left, you got Shelter of Light. It's a reaction. When attacked by a single target active attack, the damage received is reduced by 30%, and this can be applied once per round. It's a decent reaction, but we already have a better reaction with her SP skill. If you can unlock it, that's what I'd urge you to go for. And so then up here we have at rank 7 her aura, which is another aura she gets. Burning the Filthy Wish. That's hilarious. That's definitely not an accurate translation. All allies on the battlefield with the aggressive fire faction gain 10% increased attack and then 20% defense. That's standard. And then your skill damage is increased by 10% and your area damage is increased by 20%. That's a very good aura for these aggression units. On the left side of rank 7, you got Trial Area. This is an instant. It dispels 2 buffs from all enemies within a 5 square radius, which is massive. Grants the spell Glorious Watch to the spellcaster, lasting until the next 2 actions. Then you cast Forced Vigilance. It's uninterruptible, dealing 50% magical area damage to enemies within 1 circle of the target, interrupting actions. This can be triggered 3 times per round. Holy guacamole. So this is an alert, and you're now getting to interrupt your enemy's actions up to 3 times. And it's an AoE. That's insane. So this is a massive thing right here that she has in her kit. We've not seen anything like it really on anyone else. Momo has a fantastic alert. Fake Al has some decent alerts, but his interrupt is only 1 time and in a very targeted range. Hers is just everywhere around her, and for a massive area, and interrupts actions. This is bonkers. Moving right along, at rank 9, we have Burning Strike on the right. It's basic attack and inflicts Scorch. We've seen this 100 times. Decent stuff. On the left, we've got Light of Sanctions. Deals 23% magical damage 3 times to all enemies within a 1 square radius of the target. So her basic attack is a 3-time hit. That is an AoE. Pretty decent stuff. Very interesting. I love that. And then up here at rank 11, you have Crystal Energy Wave, Cannon, Modified. And so this is a pretty big AoE at 2 energy cost, 2 turn cooldown. It is reducing your magic defense of your enemies by, by 3, which is a solid 60%. Very, very huge, nice, big magic defense down. We're seeing that on a lot of these new characters coming out. They all have like their own little version of this. Very interesting stuff. Nothing wrong with this. On the right, however, you have Oath of the End of Evil. But to end evil, I have no idea. But regardless, poor translation. 3-star, 3-turn cooldown. Magic damage, deals 220% damage to all enemies within 5 squares of herself. For each additional enemy hit, the skill multiplier is reduced by 30%, up to a minimum of 100%. Then 3 buffs of the target are dispelled, and the player gains Glorious Watch, which lasts until the next 2 turns. So stacking more of that buff, of course, but man, that is a massive damage multiplier. Yes, it is dropping based on how many enemies are hit, but that's reasonable. That's understandable. This is still really, really big. This is a phenomenal skill right here. With that all said, let's take a look at how that affects her ranking. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you right now, SP Samantha is bonkers. She comes in with a 0 in physical damage, a 3 in tanking, a 5 in healing, a 14 in magic damage, which I believe is our highest yet, 4 in buffs, a 19 in debuffs, a 20 in utility, giving her a total value of 65 points. She will be the new highest ranked character based on these metrics in the game. Estra has now been dethroned in her point value, and now SP Samantha is our highest valued character in the game. And what do you know? She's done it. She is here, and she is big. She is an example of power creep, but she is powerful. I would highly recommend getting her to 5 stars. There's no 2 ways about it. 50% increase to crit rate, and then of course getting that energy back. Those are all really big, but then that aura covering the whole battlefield is also massive. She gets too much out of her 5-star trait for you to not want it, so I think it's something that she absolutely should have. I do think she does the job without it, but I think 3 stars is where you minimally want her to be. You want her to be there minimum, and then 5 stars is ideal. Look at this, man. She is massive. Total 65 points. Wow. With that said, let's take a look at the tarot prediction. And so I see quite a few similarities between her and the Sun. That's where I see the most similarities in the Sun Tarot and her splash art. But I also see some of the Judgment in there, so I included that as well. I don't think it's as strong of a card. However, I think the Sun is what's most closely aligned with her and what she does. And so the way I'm seeing it, for the Sun, I'm seeing those blue circles, obviously is a direct example of the Sun. You've got that Sun gleaming, you've got the aura. It's very similar to what's on the card with the Sun. You can kind of see it in the Judgment too, but less so I didn't include it. And then with the green circle, you see that V shape with the doves. Of course, we always see that with those doves, but we see that same with those rocks shaped formations behind her. I don't really understand the purpose of those or what they're depicting and what that is. Maybe you do. Drop down in the comments, let me know. But that's what I see something similar to. And then of course with the black, I see those flowers kind of being somewhat similar to what's going on with those flames, with those spears coming out of those triangles. And so I see some similarity there. And then I see with the yellow, I see the 5-star glints. We can see those 5-star glints captured in those triangles, those the things that are ejecting the spears, of course, from refracting light. We also see that in her center crystal. It's just the same as what is there in the sun card. In fact, the sun card actually has a smaller, little, tiny 6th crystal, and you can see that at the top of her spear as well, so it's very much similar. And then the teal for the XIX, or the 19 Roman numeral, you see at the top of the card. I think that's very symbolic of what you see in the staff. It's very similar. You also see that with the Judgment as well. The Judgment card has, Roman numeral 20, XX, and so I see a lot of those interlocking, intersecting parts that look like they make X's, if you will, and so I see that similarity there. And then the sky blue, the design in the clothing is similar to the design pattern in the sun, more specifically with what she is wearing there with that necklace. As you can see in the other image of her, it looks very much similar to that design that you have there in the center of the sun. And then the eyes closed, or her eyes being concealed, you can see that in both cards. It's very similar to what they're not looking, or their eyes are closed, and so it's not being seen. And then you have the dark orange circles, which is her being suspended in the air, flowing. It's similar to what you see in the sun. It's also similar to what you see with Judgment. Judgment, she's sitting on the cloud, but on the sun, you see that small angel suspended in the air. Its legs are fixated in a similar way, and so you see that with Samantha as well. That's a huge similarity. And then, of course, the trumpet that you see with that pink circle, I see a big similarity between the Judgment card and her staff with that. I definitely see it there. And then, of course, the purple circles, the dual bell towers you see in the background. It's very similar to the dual bells in that tarot card. I don't really understand why else they'd be there. You name it. There's, of course, the cloud imagery that's still there. It's similar between the two cards, but more similar to the sun card, in my opinion. The flowing cloth, there's so much imagery there. I think it's symbolic. I think it's mostly symbolic of the sun card, in my opinion, but there are small similarities with the Judgment card. So when I pull for Samantha, SP Samantha, I will be utilizing the sun card and the Judgment card as a backup. Let me know what you think. Tell me what you plan on doing, and let me know how it works for you, of course, too. So there you have it. That is it for me on SP Samantha. She looks absolutely bonkers, phenomenal, strong. Can't wait to get her. This is a unit that I feel like you're going to be hurting if you don't pull for. And so this is somebody you absolutely want to go after. A must pull, if you will. She's got so much in her kit. She's so strong. This is the newest iteration of power creep being introduced into the game. She's going to absolutely smack and hit hard. Of course, I'll test these things. I'll see what works best and how it all fits together for her, and then make some posts and guides and put some information out on that. But until then, from what we can see, looking at it, I think it's safe to say that she's going to be a whopper of a character. With that all said, huge shout out and thank you to my Patreon members. Thank you so much for all of your support. You're the ones that allow me to make the pools, to get the materials, to create the guides, and to get this information out to our community. So huge shout out to you, and thank you so much for your support. If you're interested in checking out our Patreon and supporting the channel, please make sure you check out the link down below in the description, where you can also find a link to our Discord, where we talk all things Sword of Convallaria and then some. We'd absolutely love to have you in our community, so please jump in and join us. We would love to see you there. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I wish you the best in your Sword of Convallaria gameplay. Let me know what you think. Are you excited about SP Samantha? Are you going for her? Are you going to pass on her? Are you upset she's part of, the Papal State and really not much else? Do you like the aggression category? Tell me all about it. I'm eager to hear what your thoughts and what you got to say. And yes, thank you again for watching. Until next time, I will catch you later. Bye.